Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Film Family. Thank you for tuning in. Today, we're going to be talking about Disney's new Frozen 2. So I guess we'll just kind of dive right into it. I rewatched Frozen 1 recently just so it was like, you know what I mean? So I
Very
could continue.
Smart. Yep.
I remember really liking Frozen, almost thinking that it would be like the classic of my generation for that. And after rewatching it, I felt like that maybe that feeling came because I watched it with my younger cousins who the movie was made for, you know, young girls.
Yeah.
And while rewatching it, I'm not going to say it was a bad movie. I think that they had one really strong song, which of course is "Let It Go."
Okay.
That was such a strong song. I think they had that ice song in the beginning. I liked that, but that wasn't as strong for me as that. And this is a personal choice because the movie's not like made for me, but the animation that from Frozen 1 or both of them technically is very like Barbie, very Bratz, kind of like, you know, it's for young girls more so than just a cartoon or
So
something
you
like
noticed
that.
that style.
Exactly.
Okay. Interesting.
But Frozen 2, what I liked about it is it kind of continued that story of obviously a Frozen 1, but in a way that I wasn't expecting. Like, I mean, how much else can you do with this Frozen stuff? And I think I really enjoyed the way they went about it.
Okay. I just watched a recap. I watched 3 recaps, 4-minute, 3-minute, and a 5-minute one. And so I didn't get to watch the whole movie. I kind of wish I did.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't know. There's something about this movie. I watched it with an audience, but it wasn't an audience of kids because I watched it during the day.
Oh, really?
All the kids were at school or whatever. And it didn't have the same magic to it in terms of it. So I kind of know what you mean in that aspect. I don't think it was I don't even want to say well written. I just don't think it was as well executed as the first one was. Not saying that you're right. The first one for me, I felt when I saw it, I was like, oh, this is a classic, but it could have been because of the audience. It could have been because of the atmosphere, because I don't feel that same way. Even watching the recaps, I was like, okay, there's a hit song. We all know the song, but it's like, is it really going to stand the test of time like other ones do? Like I can watch Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, or Lion King any time of the day and be like, okay, this is, the cartoons and be like, this is a classic.
But
course. Then, that was like I think that was the first Disney movie that was like kind of back true to form. Not a Pixar. I'm just saying Disney was like, okay, they're back. And I think that's why it got so much credit.
agree, but also I think it got credit because it did something very different than what Disney does. And they ended Frozen 1 with you don't need an opposing gender or a prince, basically, you know what I mean, to make you happy. Yeah. And I thought that was really cool. And message, I think that even with the second one, the message that it's more mature and what they're trying to teach people. And I felt like they were trying to make jokes like where Olaf was like, oh, you're so much older now. Yeah. And it was kind of breaking the fourth wall and like looking at the camera. And I also feel like they deal with, in the first one, it's hard to tell who's the bad guy. You know what I mean? And it's kind of like, is Elsa the bad guy because she's hurting everybody, but she doesn't mean to? And I think it's kind of teaching kids to deal with things in a more complex way than as the older Disney used to do. You know what I mean? And that's why I like this. But as far as like, I was trying to think about this. Have you seen Brave, the Irish one?
I know of it. I haven't seen it.
I think as a strong female independent lead, I think that's one of my favorite. I've been told I need to see Moana, and I'm ashamed I haven't seen it yet. But I don't think Frozen is better than Brave for me. But that being said, I really think Frozen is good, and Frozen 2. What I liked about it, again, I think they only had one strong song, Into the Unknown, and that's when she's going out, and they did that whole musical piece with the colors and the stuff. And I thought really well done, and it was great. But the other songs, they just didn't like fit kind of how that one was such a good. It's a Disney classic for me.
Is it Kristoff? Is that
the love interest for Anna?
For Anna, yeah. His song it felt completely out of place for me. It almost felt like, I don't know if it was the animation or how they made it seem, but it was like there's these sweeping ballads or whatever and then there's this like, I don't want to say a boy band song.
That's exactly what it looked like a music video, right?
Yeah, it looked like, and that's how it was portrayed, and it just stood out like a sore thumb.
Yeah,
and it made me feel weird.
Yeah, I didn't know if it was meant to be a joke, like they were trying to make fun of him for doing something
wasn't
like that. Yeah,
joking.
That's the thing, and that's why it kind of lost me.
Yeah,
there.
it was like, if it was tongue in cheek, then it would have been like, okay, you know. But it was like done serious, and I was like, okay, that's kind of weird. Maybe it went over my head, but yeah, that was the only thing that kind of was like, this is a weird placement for that, and I don't really think he was as necessary in terms of. His whole thing was about, proposing. Yeah. And that was like the running gag throughout the whole movie, but he really didn't do anything besides that.
Yeah, and I kind of felt like obviously it's princess, there has to be a prince in the story, just kind of that's how it flows, but what made Frozen so big was that she didn't need a prince, and I don't really think that it took away from that, but I think that it could have been better if it wasn't. You know what I mean? If he wasn't really involved in that and it was the two sisters.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. If he wasn't even in the picture, it still would have not affected anything. That's kind of scary.
But what did you think about, because we're always talking about kind of building out that universe, with John Wick 3, with this Mandalorian stuff. What did you think about how they kind of expanded on the history of how Elsa got her powers? And, from a story point, it's pretty complex.
Yeah, it was very complex. It's hard because I kind of, and maybe everyone else did too, I kind of knew that that
for lack of a better term, the white guys basically would attack the natives.
I knew that the mother that was the one that saved the father. Like I knew that, and I don't know why I knew that, but and usually I'm behind, when it comes to movies. I'm like, I catch it at the very last minute when they reveal it, but this time I was ahead of it, and so. I knew, because I was like, how else is she like magical and all that stuff? Like they were hinting at it, and it's just like, so for me it was just more of just unraveling. But it wasn't like a reveal for me.
You see, I feel the same way. Like I knew once they did the ice sculpture of her dad being rescued, I was like, it's obviously the mom that saved him. Yeah. But I like, because before that, you never really thought that the mother was magical, you know what I mean, or that she had gifted powers.
I knew once she sung the song. That's that way early with the bedtime.
Oh wow,
thing.
Okay, so you were ahead
That's
of the
what I was
then.
saying. That's how early I knew it, and then it was just unraveling.
That's really crazy.
So the ice sculpture was like, okay, that still confirmed it, and then at the end I was like, okay, that is
wow.
So yeah, I don't know why.
So it's pretty obvious for you.
I'm not usually that ahead of the game. I was surprised, but yeah, something about it. I was just like, oh, maybe it's what I would have like done or something.
I liked the vocal intonation that they did for the calling of it. I thought that was a unique call with the colors and the ice too.
It was beautiful. Like
definitely,
it was beautifully made. It's just for me the story wasn't as strong.
And I think a perfect example, at least for me, when it's like not as strong, is even in the first one or this one. There's that someone's got to die. You know what I mean? And like Olaf. He was melting in the first one, and this one he kind of turned away. And it was sad when Anna's crying in the thing, but it wasn't like Lion King. No. You know what I mean? Where you're just like, that's hard.
Yeah,
you know?
No, it wasn't. And was Olaf that annoying in the first one?
Well, I actually think he's funny, and I think maybe he's funny because he's annoying, but he is like that in the first one.
Maybe he had more screen time. Like he didn't bother me that much, but it was like, I don't know. It's almost like that comedian that were like 10% of the jokes hit. Yeah. And it's probably because of my demographic. Like
again, it's for little kids. You know what I mean? It's like a clown doing a job. Like
I'm a little kid. That's my problem. I'm like, Disney still, like Toy Story still makes it for both adults and kids. And like Pixar's very good at that. And that's why it bothers me. Because then like when it's just marketed, and they threw some jokes in for adults, but it's like, that duality is what Disney could be good at, and they are usually good at. It's like, it's because they know parents have to take their kids or adults have to take children to see it. So it's like, make it entertaining for them too. And so, I don't know.
I see them making a TV show after this.
I can easily
because of the way it ended, you know what I mean? Easily. And like they kind of have their own kingdoms and they could visit each other and stuff.
That's exactly probably what they're going to do because they left it open-ended like that. And they don't really, they made a buttload of money. So yeah, they definitely So I'm never going to count out Frozen 3. I was going to say they could just stay, but now they made so much money. And that's one of the things when you make a great first movie, you did, and the sequels, I don't want to say safe, but it follows that pattern, which is, then it's like, okay, they deserve at least that opening weekend success because they didn't change too much.
Definitely. And I mean, again, this is definitely a movie that's not for our demographic or even like our gender, really. It's definitely more towards a younger female audience.
And they will love it probably.
100%.
I think I talked to some parents that brought their daughters and they loved it. So I was like, okay, that's just, then it's just
I think it definitely is going to work. I like it. I think Disney has a really great way of telling stories that can also kind of teach you something, especially to kids. When you think about it, like you learn so much in your life and it's hard to express that and tell it to someone. But I feel like the movie or the cartoon does it so well with the music, and it's almost like they get a life lesson while being entertained. Yeah. So that's what I kind of really like about this movie.
Yeah. So my whole suggestion to the audience would be, if you're a dad, try and get the wife or the girlfriend or whatever to do this one and try and bank on the next one. Just do that, because chances are it's probably going to be, because I think this was geared towards a different gender.
100%, definitely.
Yeah, I can say that.
But I still I don't think about any lesser of it.
One of my favorite Disney movies is Alice in Wonderland. So
wow, they're making. I don't know if you saw the Mulan trailer, but that's one of my favorite Disney movies, and they're doing a live action. That's a good
I shouldn't admit that out loud. Yeah, Alice in Wonderland is still one of my favorites. So,
that's a great.
There you go.
Well, I mean, I guess there's not much for us to really talk about it.
Do you want to rate it?
You're definitely gonna rate it. I think for me,
I wasn't even thinking about what. Go ahead.
So for me, like the first Frozen, I thought it was definitely better. But after rewatching it, I'm gonna give it an 8
for the first one.
Yes, because I think that for my rating, a 7 is a pass, and I think it's better than a pass. You know.
Okay.
And I think the same thing with Frozen 2. They're really very similar in plot, and not in plot, but like in the plot on how well they deliver it. Like if there was a checklist, they'd pretty much probably have like all 8s all the way down for me. So I would give both movies an 8. I would probably give it 8.1, 8.2 to the first Frozen, just because I like it a little more.
Okay, I'm going to stick with what I've done in the past, which is I'm going to give it 2 different ratings, one for me and the one for the demographic that I think they're going for in their audience. For me personally, the first Frozen, I'd probably give it about an 8.7, in between 8.5 and a 9, because I really still enjoyed it. Now, granted, I only saw the recap recently, but the songs were great, catchy, and all that stuff, and that means a lot to me. This one I probably give about 7, to be completely honest. It's something that I didn't need to see in my life.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't mean that it's like if I didn't see it, I would be mad.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, but seeing it, I'm happy I saw it, but it's not like something that I'm like, darn, I should have saw that earlier.
Yeah.
Now, for the audience, if you were that target demographic Frozen audience and you have kids that are begging you to see it, I feel like it's going to be, a 9, or 10 if it's a younger girl or girls, whatever. And then the sequel is going to probably still be a 9 or whatever, because it's right. They're going to love it.
Right up their alley. It's perfect. Yeah.
So that, and judge it off of that in terms of, but just know you have to sit through it too, if that's not what you want to do.
Thank you guys for tuning in and watching. We'll hopefully see you next time.